Out of film yet?
Hey, Ricky Rackman here. So nice to be back home here on the Headbangers Ball. Hope you've been watching the show in the past 3 weeks because we've had a lot of fun and got quite a bit of frequent flyer mileage. The last 2 weeks, we've been on the road with Anthrax, part of that trail of noise with Anthrax, having a blast. The guys in Anthrax, I'm telling you, were so cool. John Bush, the new singer, smokes live. New record is out in the store called Sound of White Noise, and go out and buy it. It's killer. Also want to thank Greg and Mike, who are our lucky winners for the Anthrax contest. Very cool guys. They were in the pit every night, got completely bruised up. And then 3 weeks ago, we were over at my house in my backyard where we had a barbecue on the Headbangers Ball, and that was a blast too, but it's still nice to be here. Tonight on the show, keeping up the level of great shows we've been having the past month, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley from Kiss are going to be here. And they haven't shown up yet, so maybe I'll do my Gene Simmons imitation. It's not very good, but they're not here, so who can defend them? The latest videos from Mindfunk, Jackal, and Paw. New band Paw, a lot of people are talking about them. We're going to play a video from them. But right now, it's time to start things off with Countdown to the Ball. We play the top 10 rock videos of the week, and coming in at number 10, here is Winger with Down Incognito. Coming in at number 8 on Countdown to the Ball, that was Robert Plant with Calling to You. We've got the top 7 videos of the week on the way. Also, I'm going to get to some mail, and an interesting kind of letter feud thing has been going on, and you'll find out about that as more Headbangers Ball action continues. The cheapest stuff is... I can't do it. And you weren't watching. I was doing a great Gene Simmons imitation, and I'm not going to do it for you now, but maybe I'll do it. And I know somebody that does a Gene Simmons imitation even better than I. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons will both be here when the Headbangers Ball kicks in at midnight, so that's going to be cool. Right now, I want to remind you that coming up very soon in the countdown, you're going to see something brand new from AC/DC, and it's the first video from the Last Action Hero movie soundtrack, which is this new Schwarzenegger film, and I mean, everybody is on that soundtrack, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But right now, it's time to get right back to the countdown. Coming in at number 7, here is Green Jelly, and it's amazing. On Countdown to the Ball, coming in at number 5, that was Vince Neil with Sister of Pain, and you can see Vince Neil on the road this summer as he will be the opening act on the Van Halen tour. And a little bit earlier, you saw a video from AC/DC. Once again, that's part of the Last Action Hero movie soundtrack. The movie will be out real soon. It's got Schwarzenegger in it. The soundtrack alone not only has AC/DC, it's got Queensryche, it's got Megadeth, it's got Alice in Chains, it's got Fishbone. Who'd I forget? Anthrax. How could I have forgotten Anthrax? Anyway, the soundtrack, very killer. And again, I want to remind you, when the Headbangers Ball kicks in at midnight, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons of Kiss are going to be my co-host. And a lot of questions I want to ask them that you've probably been asked them dozens of times. And I'm going to ask them some questions that I know that they have never been asked. And I'm going to get to some mail. All of that, and we've got some killer Kiss videos. Also the latest from Mindfunk, Paw, and Jackal. And the top 4 hard rock videos of the week are coming up next. And the Headbangers Ball kicks in at midnight. Stay tuned because, of course, we have got Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley from Kiss. They're going to be here. Co-host for the night. Lots of stuff I want to ask them. Right now, it's time to get back to the countdown with video number 4. Now, this is the second video on our countdown coming from Aerosmith. Now, in prior episodes of the Headbangers Ball, I've told you how Jackal is the Aerosmith tour. Well, from what I understand, Jackal has got the starting of the Aerosmith tour, and then later on the second leg, Megadeth is going to be opening up for Aerosmith. So wherever you may see Aerosmith, you'll have either Jackal or Megadeth opening up for them. So it's going to be a good show. Right now, the second video on the countdown from Aerosmith, here is Eat the Rich. That was video number 2 on Countdown to the Ball, Anthrax. And Anthrax, who we've been on the road with for the last 2 weeks, they just headed over to Europe, but they will be back in July to tour the United States. That was only live. The new stuff sounds killer. And by now, I imagine a lot of you have got the new Anthrax record, and I hope you're all enjoying it as much as I do. Tonight on The Ball, look out for lots of great videos from our co-hosts, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley of KISS. Plus, we've got videos from Ministry, Paw, and Mindfunk. And I'm going to get to this feuded battle from letters that we've been getting. Also, the #1 video of the week is up next, so don't move. We're just moments away from Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley of KISS hanging out with us on the Headbangers Ball. Going to get to this letter. We've gotten so many letters regarding this. You might remember about a month and a half ago, I read a letter from a Thelma and Louise who commented on things on the Headbangers Ball saying they hated the triple thrash threat. They were furious that we'd waste time with bands like Pantera and White Zombie, and were furious that we call this the Headbangers Ball and don't play bands like Trickster, which is our favorite band, and then said things in the letter that I had said that we play videos that I like. Quote, I like these bands, so that's why we play them. I never, ever, ever said that. And just said all this stuff that the triple thrash threat she used to like because she know that would be the place where we would see the 3 terrible videos, and then we would play all good videos. And she wants bands like her favorite band, Trickster, on the Headbangers Ball. First of all, I am not the one that picks the videos. I always tell you guys to write us letters to the Headbangers Ball, so we know what videos you like so we can play them. And personally, I love the triple thrash threat. Hope we're going to be getting it back soon. But, you know, we like everybody to write their opinion. I'm sorry you got so upset about it. Unfortunately, Thelma and Louise, we got about 40 letters that I even read with people saying stuff like, I'm writing in response to the Thelma and Louise. I love Headbangers Ball because it's so diverse, and all these different letters. I mean, I could go on and on. There's like 30 letters from all the people that wrote that love Headbangers Ball because of the diversity, because of the heavy stuff and the different stuff. So, sorry, Thelma and Louise, not everybody agrees with you, but thanks for writing your letters anyway, and all you people that commented on it. Here is video #1 on Countdown to the Ball. Here is Stone Temple Pilots with Plush. That was the #1 video on Countdown to the Ball, Stone Temple Pilots with Plush. Still reading this letter with this girl, Shannon, or Thelma and Louise, that says that you have to have long hair to be a Headbangers, and that it proves when I play heavy videos that I'm really not a Headbangers, and that she likes to see the paper reflect the shine off my greasy head, and I think she just needs a big hug. So come here, Shannon, you need a big hug. Anyway, Countdown to the Ball is done, and right now it's time for the Headbangers Ball to begin. On the way, we've got videos from Ministry, another band that girl didn't like that I love. We've got videos from Paw, videos from Mindfunk, plus lots of videos from co-hosts Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley of KISS. Real excited about that. But right now, it's time to get the ball rolling, and here is classic KISS. This was like, when you talk about your rock and roll anthems and people say it was a rock and roll anthem, this is the ultimate rock and roll anthem. Here is KISS with Rock and Roll All Night. Welcome back to the Headbangers Ball. Very glad, special guests on the show. We've got Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, of course, from KISS. Welcome back to the Ball. Haven't had you ever here just kind of hanging out with us, though.
No, no.
We did the Troubadour thing a while back.
Yeah.
And right now...
You look different at the Troop.
You have a summer look now, or maybe...
Have no hair.
It's a cool look. We were talking about how this way you can just use soap, you can use anything you want to wash your hair with.
Exactly.
It's very cool.
When I'm in hotels, what I wash my hair with is whatever they have. If it's soap, soap. If not...
I like your living room, incidentally. It's very hip.
Do you like this?
People can't really see this train thing you've got here.
For me, yeah, of course. And the one that goes backwards just right to the coffee machine. Want to talk about, we've got Kiss Alive 3 out now.
That's right.
And
that's what the world needs.
And the thing that's very cool is, I mean, I remember through all my times growing up, I remember Kiss Alive 1 coming out, Kiss Alive coming out, Kiss Alive 2 coming out, and now Kiss Alive 3. And the interest is obviously still there. Entered the Billboard charts at number 9.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Well, I think people realize that we took our time with this. You know, as soon as we finished Kiss Alive 2, people were saying, when are you going to do Kiss Alive 3? there's sort of a legacy at this point, and there's a standard that we had with the first two, and it was real important for us to make sure that the third one was as good. Took 15 years, but I think, you know, we're all here to say it's every bit as good as the first two.
Now, this is just kind of a weird question. Is this the first one of the Alives? A matter of fact, I'm almost positive it was, that wasn't released on an album, right?
Well,
because I remember Kiss Alive coming out, and it's like I remember sitting in school, and the first person that brought Kiss Alive out, and it unfolded, and you had the whole thing there, and it was like,
stuff.
Yeah, I think everybody who remembers records misses, you know, the big format, because it was art. You know, I remember going into record stores when I was a kid and buying a record just if I liked the artwork. I mean, if something grabbed me, I'd buy it just because of that, or because the song titles. And but in certain other parts of the world that we're not aware of, like in the Far East, records are still really big. Behind the Iron Curtain, what there is of it, there's still records going.
We saw the album version, and it's so cool because it looks like Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2. This is about as good as we can do for now. But
there's a nice little booklet in there, which you should...
Yeah, there's a little one that you can
We're going to talk
open
about
up.
that, talk about the stuff that's on the record, talk about the stuff that isn't on the record. I'm going to try to come up with Kiss questions that even Kiss had never been asked. Plus, we've got some killer videos from Ministry, Mind Funk, and Paw, and something new from Jackal. More with Paul and Gene of Kiss when the Headbangers Ball continues. Bags are... Welcome back to the Ball. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley are very special guests on tonight's Headbangers Ball. We're talking about Kiss Alive 3, which is out in your stores right now. Now, do you think the majority of the people that bought Kiss Alive 3 are people that bought Kiss Alive and Alive 2 when it first came out?
Good question.
Probably a bit of both. It's always cooler, I think, to us to have somebody come up, pick up a new Kiss record, and Kiss Alive 3 is our newest record, and say, hey, I've never bought any of your records before, but this is a cool record. I think that gives testimony to what's happening right now. I mean, the past is important, and it's all well and good, but it's the past. I think it's always much more important whether or not what you're doing now is valid. So I think it would be hip to me if a kid came over and said, this is cool. This is the first record.
Right.
I don't know anything about you guys, but this is a good record.
We have to make sure with Kiss Alive 3 that if you didn't have the first two, this would stand up on its own. With the first two, they were so close to each other that we didn't include material that had been on both. With Kiss Alive 3, we wanted somebody who picked it up to get a real overview of who the band is, what we've done, their songs from the very beginning, obviously up until now. It almost came down to us reclaiming them. Some people might say, oh, that song belonged to that formation of the band or this year, and it's bull. They're Kiss songs, and by redoing them, it becomes that much clearer. They're our songs, so I think we had to reconnect with them and really give them back to the people.
And we'll be back with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons of Kiss. And right now, here is a video from Jackal. This is called When Will It Rain? Welcome back to the Ball. Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, our guest tonight. We're talking about Kiss Alive 3. Now, here's a question. It must have been hard to look at this huge catalog and pick which songs aren't like, you know, of course, when I pick it up, instead of saying, all right, dudes in Detroit Rock City, I first look at it and go, Strutter's not on it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
We had a dilemma because we wanted to put on 17 songs, 16, 17 songs. We wanted to make it like the first two. Obviously, when you're doing 2.5-hour shows instead of an hour and a half, which is what we once did, some stuff has to get put, to the side. We tried to put together something that gave a great, taste of what we're all about, and yet we know that if it was warranted, we could put out the rest. We have all the rest. They're in the can. The rest of the show is in the can. So,
I mean, it's always a mixed blessing, having a lot of records in your catalog. You're always sort of torn between this and that. Even every time we do a show, we go out on tour, it's like mind-racking. What are we going to play or what aren't we going to play? And Alive 3, after a lot of tugging and pulling, probably is the best of all worlds. I think there were 4 original lineup songs. Then the middle period. I mean, I think we pushed each other back and forth enough that when we listened
Yeah, because I imagine when you're looking at the whole thing, it's like, well, we got to put this. No,
Yeah.
but if we put this, we got to save room.
And I mean, initially I thought this was my concept initially, and the rest of the guys said, you're crazy, you can't do that. I thought there should only be songs that have never appeared on a Live 1 or a Live 2, because I thought, hey, if you're a Kiss fan, you've got those two. Somebody else pointed out, maybe Paul, no, if you're a brand new Kiss fan, you don't have a Live 1 or Live 2, and maybe you should have a piece of what this band does with that material. And you know what? You put Deuce today up to the original Deuce, this is every bit as good or better. That's what we're told.
And I want to talk a little bit about the new Kiss fans, and we will when we come back with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons of Kiss. Special guests on tonight's Headbangers Ball, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley. We're talking about Kiss Alive 3, which is out in your stores right now. And if you're a Kiss fan, you probably knew that a long time ago that it was out. Now, about the Kiss fans, I mentioned this to you, Gene, a while ago, and I think it's still pretty accurate. Kiss is one of the bands that's been around a long time, but is still always attracting young fans. Like, you take one band that maybe has been around for almost 20 years, and as the band gets older, the fans get older, and they're not always attracting all the young kids.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be when, like, a band like the Moody Blues would play, all the young kids were into it, and as they got older, their fans got older.
Yeah.
But Kiss has always got the young rocker fans there.
I don't think we're about nostalgia. I think we're familiar. What we do today is very similar to what we did 15 or 20 years ago, but we're not about going out on stage and playing Maybelline. We're not about going on stage and playing something that was a hit 20 years ago and filling it in with a couple of cover songs. I think the people that are into us, there are some that are from the original bunch, and there are also people who get into it each album that comes out. I think really it's important for us always to live up to our past, but I'll be damned if we ever live on it, to just get by saying, oh yeah, remember us during the 70s.
Because when I think people want to hear, when people mention Kiss, like Kiss is playing, they don't really say, what a great 70s band that was. People like Kiss because Kiss is a rock and roll band. And it's not somebody that,
I'm not sure that's entirely so. I think part of that, as long as you've got a history that's important to people, part of that's always going to pop up. And that's okay, we're proud of the past. But if the present doesn't have any validity, and that's a big word, like gymnasium. Thank you, then it doesn't mean anything. Then you're just a shadow of your former self. And we're always aware that the older fans, the ones that have been around, are always aware of the past, and this song's not quite as good as that song, Gene, because you got to write this kind of stuff. We always get that, and that's good, because it kicks you in the butt and keeps you writing more important stuff.
But it's also funny, because some people would like to believe that what once was is always better than what it is now. In other words, there's always people around who are going, well, in the past it was real magic, or why don't you go back to what you were once doing? And some of those people weren't even there then. But there's some sort of mystique in having missed out an opportunity. But I'm here to tell you that what's going on today is every bit as good as what was going on back then.
And we're doing lots of cool stuff. We are right now editing a long-form video that's going to be coming out mid-July.
I want to talk about that.
In that case, I'll shut up.
Because I want to go into the long-form video. Right now, I want to play a Kiss video, and we'll even talk about this when we come back with Kiss. This is I Love It Loud from Kiss.
All right.
Hanging out with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, and right now we're going to talk about this video that you were talking about.
We are in the middle of editing this thing. It's called Kiss Confidential. It's going to come out mid-July. It's got most of the last tour that we did, all the explosions, the bombs and everything. And there's a song that Paul Stanley wrote called Take It Off. That's got some excellent footage of local talented girls who came up and decided to do as the song suggested, because it's a suggestive title. So makeup.
I'm going to write a song next time called Eat Me. And we'll go on tour with that one, too.
The power of your music. See what happens.
And a couple of vintage makeup videos and a lot of really cool stuff that goes on backstage. And we were watching it this morning because we've still got to edit some of the final stuff.
We were in bed together eating cereal. Oh, look at that.
The band that lives together plays together. Name the band. Spirit on Epic Records. That's the title of the album.
I would have never guessed that one.
Anyway, the thing's real cool, and at the same time we're planning, there's so much stuff going on that we've got to just sort of pace ourselves, because it's a table full of,
but we're hitting the road.
Big feast.
We're not going out to tour right now, but what we are doing is we're going city to city. I even have a list of the cities here, because you'd be interested. We're going to Dallas, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., New York, Boston, Toronto, Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, and L.A. And what we're doing is when you buy any of the KISS albums, you get a coupon. And with that coupon, if you're lucky, you get, you know, the coupons that are in the stores, you get to meet us because we're going to have a party in each city.
Was it also something, this is what I heard, I could be wrong, that you buy a KISS record and then you can get another one for a penny or something like that, or?
Some of those specifics are beyond us because the record company tries to do...
So don't quote me on that.
Tries to do the business stuff. All we were concerned about is for the longest time, we keep hearing, you know, it's really tough to talk to you guys face to face. We can't meet you. Everyone, you know, we do backstage stuff every single show because we want to see who the fans are and talk with them. And this is really an opportunity for us. We're going to go right back in, incidentally, in the fall and do a fall record, which means we won't be back again for possibly another year. And before we go back in, you know, we want to go out, meet people, shake hands. We're here.
There's like a limited amount of tickets or coupons. I'm not even sure of the specifics, but when you buy the albums, the first X amount of people at the record store get these coupons, and then there'll be a party.
The coupons will admit you into the party, and
we'll
you guys will be there?
And we'll see you there.
Very cool.
Sure.
So that'll give you... So all those KISS fans, go out, get that record, and I'm sure you'll find out more when it comes to your town. And we're going to be back with more of Gene and Paul right after these messages.
Kept talking about this band.
We're back right now. We didn't even know.
We're in the middle of a
See,
conversation.
you watch the videos, we just keep on talking.
That's right.
We're talking a little bit about these parties that you were doing, and one thing I want to go on into is the KISS fan base, because I remember, how long has the KISS Army been around?
About 18 years.
Yeah.
Now, is the KISS Army still going on? I mean, is there still newsletters and everything?
Crazy.
Isn't it like one of the biggest fan clubs in the world?
Well, it's much hipper now because, I mean, in the beginning, it was a fan club that was organized and we had a big hand in it. All good armies are volunteer armies. KISS Army at this point is all volunteer. In each city, in each country, it's run by those people. We're totally hands-off. We get their newsletters.
So this is fans. These are KISS fans, not the record company.
No, we get their newsletters. We get critiques of their show. You know, they come to a show and say, that was a great show, that show sucked. You know, this is a good album. And that's the way it's supposed to be.
There are tribute bands and KISS conventions.
It's great.
Oh, always. You always hear the KISS conventions. And I mean, every band, I don't know how many bands I can say that I've interviewed, guys in Metallica, were members of the KISS Army. When we were on the road with Anthrax last week, we were in, I think it was Philadelphia. And Scott Ian was so excited. He goes, look what I just got at this store. And he walked out with a KISS belt buckle. Cool. And he was so like, look at this KISS belt buckle. It's like, when anybody, you know, from like my era, which isn't that old, but I remember when KISS Alive came out, when we see any KISS stuff, it's just like, it's great. You know, I mean, the KISS pinball machines, the KISS comic books with real blood.
That's right.
Tell me about some of the other wild stuff you guys have had.
Well, geez, I mean, there's pencils, sleeping bags.
Dolls.
Not the blow-up kind.
Right.
They were smaller.
All kinds of stuff, you name it. If someone wanted it, we did it. You know, sometimes people said, God, you were, you know, these marketing geniuses, you came out with all this stuff. We weren't smart. Someone said, I'd like a KISS sleeping bag. And we went, well, there it is. You know.
Was there a KISS sleeping bag?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And if you were lucky, we were
Some
in
kids
it.
were having some scary dreams back then. We're going to come back with KISS, and right now let's play a video. You know I like this one a lot. And a matter of fact, Al Jorgensen is currently on work with his other project, The Revolting Cocks. You can even say that on MTV. Right now, here's Ministry with NWO. Something you just mentioned during that last break, at the MTV studios a long time ago was the first time you guys unmasked on camera.
Well, on camera. Yeah,
On camera.
After every show, we would unmask.
I remember seeing pictures in magazines like, this is what KISS looks like without their makeup.
What some people used to do is they would take the pictures with the makeup and erase the makeup. And,
But it didn't look like it.
We kind of looked like Gumby or something.
Or like the Ramones or somebody like that.
I gotta ask you this, okay? Is it possible, this is my personal opinion, picture like 4 stadium dates, okay? Only 4, the old show.
I can see where you're going.
Ever gonna happen?
Battery Club goes on and does the stadiums. And
I was about to say that, but I'm serious. I mean, I know you've probably been asked this question so many times, and you probably hate getting asked, but I mean, this would be like, if I live in LA, and if this show was in Arizona or anywhere within 1,000 miles. I would go to that show, as I'm sure millions of people would.
We see where
would you
this is
ever
going.
think about doing 4 stadium
No.
dates, maybe?
No, not really.
Ever?
No. Despite what some people who would like to see a reunion, despite former members, we really have no desire to do that at this point. We're really happy with things the way they are now. We've always tried to maintain the attitude that the door swings one way. When you walk out, if you are doing this to your fans and not living up to your end of the bargain, that's something that we don't forget. And we wish you the best, but there really aren't any plans for us to get together with the original members. However, there may be a tour, a reunion. It could be Mark St. John, Vinnie Vincent, Peter, and Ace, and maybe they could go out. But
You know, I don't blame anybody for having this point. Come on, get together, having that point of view.
I didn't even necessarily mean original members. I mean, you guys could maybe just do an old-style show.
But that's too
lineup.
easy, because then what's
And
the
what
difference
makeup?
between then what's the difference between us and a Vegas show?
Right.
But I mean, just to talk about this for a second about former members, because you know the guys that were there at the beginning say, you know, get back together, get that old thing back.
They need a job.
Well, we didn't say that, and that's unkind. We wouldn't say stuff like that. But the main point really is that we all started something a long time ago that we all believed in. And Paul really has got the right point of view on it, except people out there may not know about it, that some members in the beginning all felt the same thing we did, and then as soon as success and, you know, mega popularity happened, some members decided that their individual agenda was much more important than the band's. In other words, booze and whatever else became the criteria, and then everything else had to fall in line. And that's not the way it works. And the reason we're happy today, and have been for the last 10 years or so, is because you have people in the band who all care equally about this thing called KISS, and we intend to take this where no band has gone before.
there's never been anybody who cared more about this band than Eric Carr. You know, so to talk about another drummer, why don't you, what about Peter or something? Let me tell you, I mean, to the day Eric was, till the day he passed away, that's somebody who lived and breathed to be the best he could and deliver everything to the fans. That's what we want this band to be about, and that's really what it's about today.
Yeah.
And that's what Eric Singer and Bruce and us
I
are
want to
trying
come back
do.
and ask a couple questions about both Erics when the Headbangers Ball continues, but right now, you want to go into this video for us?
This is the first one where people went, so that's what they look like, put it back on.
Here's Kiss, Lick It Up.
Plug in.
Still in jail when he's getting...
Glad you didn't catch that, what we were just talking about. Anyways, we're here with Paul and Gene of Kiss, and we're talking about Kiss Alive 3, which is out in your stores right now. Go out and buy it. Classic Kiss. Great new stuff live, and great old stuff done recently live. Now, was this record, is Eric Singer on the entire record?
Yeah, Eric Singer joined us obviously about a year and a half ago, and everything on here was recorded between Detroit, Cleveland, and Indianapolis on the Revenge tour. So Eric Singer was very much a part of it, banging the skins for everything he's worth. He's amazing.
And will continue to be.
Yeah,
Right.
amazing drummer, and just a fabulous, great guy. I mean, a team player like no other.
We recently did the, we always mind our own business, and people come up to us with all kinds of things that they have in mind for us. And so we're minding our own business, and the city of Los Angeles comes up and says, you guys are going to get the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. We say, okay, great. And not only that, but we're going to proclaim Los Angeles Kiss Day on the day that you get your Walk of Fame. Okay, cool, great. On the day that we're about to put parts of our body in cement, as imprints or whatever, the mayor decides to take away the honor, rescinds Kiss Day. So we figured, okay, back as usual, the back business. Here we are, Kiss the Black Sheep.
But you
Can't
did
win.
get honored. They have something, the Rock Walk
Yeah,
of
the
Fame in
Rock Walk.
Hollywood.
Yeah, we
And
got that.
It was great. It was Bruce, Gene, and myself put our hands into cement, and in honor of I guess the history of the band and the continuation of the band. And what we're doing is having a separate plaque put in for Eric Carr,
Very cool.
who we wouldn't be here without.
Right.
You can talk about the past all you want. I'd rather talk about the recent past, and the recent past is what put us here today. Eric propelled the band for 11 years, And it would be an insult for us and to us to not have him a part of the Rock Walk, so he will be added to it.
Very cool. And if, for those that are curious, the Rock Walk is on Sunset. It's in front of Guitar Center in Hollywood. And here's a band that is going over to Europe to play some big festivals. These are great guys. This is brand new from Mindfunk. This is Goddess. With Paul and Gene, and there was something, somebody told me you guys are doing something with a pediatric foundation, or...
Well, a lot of bands kept talking about how they were influenced by us and were really into what we've done. So what we started to come to the conclusion, wouldn't it be cool if we compiled all these bands doing Kiss songs.
So this is, okay, now I understand. This is the Kiss tribute thing, right? If he's not allowed to talk about it, I already know, and I've said stuff about it on Headbangers already.
We're just trying, a lot of stuff is happening, obviously, and the people know a lot more specifics than we're talking about, only because right now the most important thing in our life is Alive 3. And we can talk about other stuff that we've got going on, and you're obviously hearing bits and pieces. There's a lot
But a lot of
on.
people have been recording.
He's going to push. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll push Kiss Alive 3 in a little bit.
lot of people
But I
have
just
been
want to ask you one thing.
Yes.
I heard Garth Brooks is recording Hard Luck Woman.
He did.
He did.
He did. We backed him up.
I could see, when somebody said, oh, Garth Brooks is going to do a Kiss song, I'm going, what could he do? And then Hard Luck Woman, I'm saying, you'll be a hard luck
No, it
woman.
doesn't sound like that.
Not only that,
It is the
Garth
coolest
grew
vocal.
up listening to Kiss. Garth started playing guitar around Destroyer. And Hard Luck Woman.
Hearing Garth Brooks and Destroyer in the same sentence, I never thought it would happen.
Let me tell you, the guy, anybody who's seen his show, he's got the right idea. And we went to Nashville and cut Hard Luck Woman with him. And it's smoking, man. I mean, talk about doing justice to the, the original. It's right up there.
He really rocks.
Oh, God, I can't wait to hear it.
We tried to sneak into Nashville, As soon as we landed at the airport, it's like the natives arrested us tonight. Look at them there, people. So they saw us coming.
Yeah,
right
that's
up.
What do you guys think you are?
That's exactly how
You
they
think
talk.
you're in Kiss or something?
Look at those screens. Well, anyway, we kept a real low profile, but the newspapers were all over the story. And the reason we're not talking about it so far is because it's growing by leaps and bounds, and it's getting real big. There are a lot of real big names.
It's really
Everybody would want to do it, I
And we want
imagine.
to keep it a little classier, and at the right time, we'll really talk about it, even though we've already...
Okay, when it's the right time, you'll talk about it. But I still want to say one more thing about it. I know that Anthrax is doing the song She, and you got up on stage with them and did the song She at the Ritz in New York the other night. No, it was at the Grand,
I was in New York last night. Scott called both of us to come down and catch the show, and I had nothing to do about 10 o'clock, so I went down, and the place was packed. They were great, and right before the encore, Scott came over and said, we're doing She. I said, great, do the She. And then right before the second verse, they pulled me up on stage, and...
Because it looked like the band, I mean, it was something, just so you know, being in the audience, everybody in the audience really got a big kick out of it, but it's something that the band, I also know, was like, we did She with Gene Simmons on stage. I mean...
It was cool.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, we're always answering questions from you, Ricky. I want to try, turn the tables just a little, because I want to be like the interviewer. You have a band, don't you?
I'm not going to do that. I want to talk about Kiss. When there's a time to talk about that...
He has a band.
Thank you. When there's a time to talk about that, we'll talk about that. But right now...
They're playing.
Nice guys. We'll talk about Kiss, and we'll talk more to Gene and Paul when the Headbangers Ball
He
continues.
has a band.
Back on the Headbangers Ball, hanging out with Kiss. Kiss Alive 3 is out in your stores as we speak. It's got best of the older stuff, and it's got also a lot of the new stuff on it. God
Now,
gave
Ricky
rock and
doesn't
roll
want to
to
talk
you.
about his band, okay?
Right. I'm here with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, and I'm going to plug my band right now.
So, Kiss Alive...
I guarantee there's a lot more people that want to know about Kiss right now.
Kiss Alive 3's got 16 or 17 tunes. We were going to do a double record of it, and then decided that there's just too much music, and it's almost a double album anyway in a single package, so we thought that
Now,
was
what were the
coolest thing.
5 cities that you recorded this at?
There was only 3.
3.
It was
What were the 3
Detroit,
cities that you recorded at?
Detroit.
Did you do Detroit Rock City and Detroit?
You have to.
Of course.
Come on. That city's been magic for us for so long. I mean, when we were literally an opening act, third on the bill in every city in America, if we could be third on the bill. In Detroit, we were already headliners.
Oh, yeah.
So they've been very cool to us. So we recorded in Detroit, which was mandatory, and Indianapolis and Cleveland. And it was magic. They were all back-to-back shows, which made it that much better. You know, but by the end of those 3 shows, we were absolutely exhausted because we put out big time.
And we captured that stuff on a long-form video as well, which is going to come out middle of July, called Kiss Confidential. And before we leave or before we play other videos, we just want to make sure that you know that we're going to be coming out. If we didn't mention it again, or if you missed it, we're coming out to see you, shake hands, say hi during the month of June through most of the major cities in America. And not gigs or anything, just
parties.
Yeah, you
parties.
go to your record store, you pick up one of the albums. They should have coupons. And if they're out of coupons, you're out of luck. But if you get one of those coupons, we'll be coming to your town, and you will party with us.
You know what? It's just like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You just go there, and Charlie, if you find that golden ticket, you get to meet Kiss. Now, I remember when this video first came out. It was the first one off the last album. And I said that it sounded real evil. And I meant that in, like, all the compliments in the world. This is a killer song. Anything you want to elaborate on this song?
Unholy happened. It was one of the first tunes that was written for the last record, and we like it. Here it is.
Unholy from Kiss.
Come.
Back hanging out with Gene and Paul on the Headbangers Ball. Kiss Alive 3 out in the stores now. Now, what about touring? We talked a little bit about this party. I saw Kiss play on the last tour, and the one thing that was great about the show is sometimes if you ever go to a concert and you say, yeah, it was a fun show and it was like an hour long, you guys played for, like, to me it seemed it was like 2.5. No, it was probably 2.5 hours, but it seemed like, I mean, you left the show sweating and exhausted, which is what you're supposed to feel like. I mean, you can't say, oh, they didn't play How many songs did you guys play on that tour?
27. About 27.
Something
you know,
ridiculous.
And it was fun.
It was great.
So fun.
I mean, we did the show as much for us as for anybody else. At this point, when we tour, it's really a celebration of what we've done and who we are and what we've accomplished. So when we go out on tour, we put a lot of time into putting it together because there's no excuse when you have as much, you know, as many songs as we do, to go out and play an hour and a half, or to go and expect somebody to listen to a 15-minute drum solo while you go buy a T-shirt, you know?
That stops out. We don't do any of that.
We don't do any of that stuff. You know, there are no, the whole night should be your solo. You know, the idea of everybody leaving the stage and sitting on a chair while somebody plays a guitar solo, it ain't going to happen in a Kiss show.
I mean, if we sound a little jazzed about this, and if we sound like we're talking about our first record, in a lot of ways it really is, because the past X number of years has really been kind of a trial. You know, it's almost like surviving the gauntlet. If you, you know, the stuff that life throws in front of you. We've survived members becoming self-destructive and getting new members. We've survived death. We've survived periods maybe where we weren't doing the best stuff we should have been. We've survived certain members getting raped by Hollywood and selling out. We've survived all that stuff. And Alive 3 is really a celebration of having it your own way and winning. And we're not going to take any 2 years off or 3 years off and go to Bali and contemplate our navels. We're going to make records faster and better and tour more often. I mean, we want to get back in there, just like the first couple of years where we used to release 2 records a year. So Alive 4 is coming out next week.
That's right. Alive 5 next month.
And then when are we going to see Phantom of the Park 2?
We're doing the 3D version of that right now.
Well, I have a home version.
Because you know it is that on video, and I remember watching that movie when it first came out, and I was like, oh, the effects are so great.
Yeah.
And now it's a fun movie to watch.
Ignore the strings that pick up the boxes and things.
If you haven't seen it, you got to go to your video store and find Phantom of the Park, because it's fun.
Oh yeah.
It's fun. I want to thank you guys a lot for showing up. It's always a pleasure. And when are we going to see Kiss live?
We may go out September and October and do some shows, but it's really up in the air now. The only thing that's for sure is that we'll be in the studio sometime around September, October, November, and hope to have an album out, you know, in the not too distant future, but it's got to be as good as Revenge, or you'll be waiting for it a little while.
Are you guys writing stuff now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot
Always.
of cool stuff that's already been put down, demo form.
Good, good, good. So we're going to be looking for that. Remember, Kiss Alive 3 is out in the stores. And listen to probably your rock stations will tell you about this Kiss promotion that they're going to be
Come see
doing,
us.
where you can get the coupon and get to meet these guys. And there's
That's
a
right.
long-form video coming out in July.
That's right. Come see, come saw.
And there you go.
That's
And again,
French.
thanks a lot. When you guys go on tour, you got to tell Headbangers Ball we got to come out with you, because when we did the shows at the Troubadour and the clubs,
It's a
it was a
tradition
blast.
at this point
It was a blast.
to have this
See, if
man
I
there.
say it on camera, then maybe people will remember it, and hopefully we'll get to hang out with you guys, because
And Ricky's
I know
got
that
a
you all
band,
want
too.
Well, there you go. Thanks again for stopping by. Like I said, it's always a pleasure. And right now, here's a video from a new band. I hope you dig this one. This is called Paw with Jesse. That was Paul with Jesse. Once again, I want to thank Paul and Gene from KISS for stopping by. Look for Kiss Alive 3 out in your stores now. Next week on the Headbangers Ball, very glad this band's stopping by, and big fan of theirs, and I think you're going to like them too. It's the Butthole Surfers. We've been playing their video a lot, and you're going to meet them. Wild guys. That's next Saturday on the Headbangers Ball. Remember, everything kicks off with Countdown to the Ball, which we count down the top 10 hard rock videos of the week. That starts at 11 p.m., 10 Central. I'm Ricky Rackman. I'll see you next Saturday. In the meantime, remember to keep one foot in the gutter, one fist in the gold. Bye.
I'm here with Metallica.